How's it going, guys? This is John Armwood here reporting from She Got Game. I'm here with Seton Hall starting center, East first all team center, Sidney Cooks. How are you? How's everything going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate you for making a time out. I know you guys are, you guys still in tournament time. So, I'm really appreciative of you taking the time out to talk with us a little bit.
Yeah, so
Straight out the gate, man. I've been following your game for a while. I've covered Seton Hall all throughout the season, and here at She Got Game, we like to call it the She Got Game moment, right? And what that truly means is like at some point we all go through imposter syndrome where we're doing what we do, but you may not feel you arrived. The She Got Game moments where you knew you arrived, you knew you were that girl, and you knew you were going to be doing this for a really long time at a high level. Um, what was your She Got Game moment in your lengthy career?
ooh, I would say as far back as sixth grade, I was a two-sport athlete and I also played a lot of instruments. My parents kept me busy. And in sixth grade, I got my first Division I offer from Purdue University, and I had no idea what that even meant. And truthfully, I liked softball way more than basketball. But it was one of those moments when I was like, I'm learning more about it. I'm pretty good at this basketball thing. I guess I'll keep going with it and see where it takes me. And immediately letters started pouring in. I was one of those kids that did like the bathtub photo with all the letters
Okay.
around me, and Purdue was only like 2.5 hours from my home, so we would drive there. We would drive to like a lot of local Big Ten schools. We would travel to Marquette's like 30 minutes. So I think that was kind of my like, oh crap, like I'm pretty good at this. Let me continue to do this, and it's only went up since then.
All right, so you definitely just mentioned a lot there. Two things. I did read. I just want to confirm. I did read at a young age. You did learn how to play the piano. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely absurd. Being a softball, athlete as well as a basketball player is crazy. I did want to ask you, what position did you play in softball?
Oh, first.
Ooh, you
Yeah.
had the cannon.
Yeah.
Ooh, playing first is tough, man. You got to be able to hit
I
the.
had the legs long enough to just be able to reach and get the ball.
Okay, okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. That checks out. I want to transition a little bit, because rarely I've done a ton of interviews in my career, and I'm extremely blessed. However, rarely do I ever get a player who's actually been in all three Power Five conferences. And SEC, you participated for 2 years. You also participated 2 years in the Big East as well as the Big Ten. My question to you is, what would you say, for the people at home, all the fans debate, no, I got the best con. We're in the best con all the time. I have someone who's actually been in all three. What are some of the biggest differences, you've noticed competing in all of them?
Yeah, so I feel like for the Big Ten, um that is a conference that is like strict in a way. Like when you have a position, like you are on that position, do that position really well. Which didn't necessarily work for me because I was one of those bigs that when you told me to post up, I was like, oh, I'm bringing the ball up. I'm shooting threes. I'm going to do everything that a big person is not supposed to be able to do. So then once I kind of got into the Big Ten and seeing it wasn't really even Michigan State. It was the other teams around Iowa, Nebraska, where I'm like, all right, they got some knockdown shooters and they got some really strong post players.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like I'm neither. I'm in the middle. So it didn't really work for me with, I guess, my happiness really in that conference. I couldn't really see myself being successful in that conference. So then immediately leaving there, my top three were Kentucky, Mississippi State, NC State. All schools that I knew were like long, lanky players that do whatever they want. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is great. I went on a visit to Mississippi State. It was my first visit. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. Vic Schaefer, he's a winner. And I knew like going to Mississippi State wasn't necessarily for fun. It was because I wanted to win. I want to be the best version of myself. And I feel like that's the SEC and all. Like all those programs can they can win out whenever.
Mhm.
From your Vanderbilt to South Carolina, they're gonna give you a show because you have all of these really talented, versatile players that are just out there hooping.
Absolutely.
So I love the SEC. But then it got to a point where I felt like, all right, now the ability for me to shoot is getting used a little too much. Let's find a happy medium
Yeah.
and found the Big East. And I was never one like Marquette. Always reach out because I live 30 minutes from Marquette. But I was like, I don't want to be close to home. If you look, I've been everywhere, like nowhere near Wisconsin, really.
Yeah.
Um, and when I got to the Big East, and I really didn't know the type of play, and I'm like, well, why is my point guard like 5'4" and just going to the basket whenever she wants? And
Yeah.
then I have like a post like Alexia who's at the 3-point line just killing it. I was like, oh, this is it. So then every team kind of has like that 1-2 punch that's really good, and then everyone else really does their role. And I love that about the Big East because once again, it's like anybody's game.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, outside of the top of the Big East, it seems like positionless. I mean,
Mm,
not positionless, excuse me, but each position is kind of fair
yeah.
throughout. Every game is a different battle. Someone
Hmm.
could play very well at a high level. Like it's tough. It's tough in the Big East for sure. I did want to ask you, so you mentioned kind of being a mixture of a stretch big, like, and we're kind of in an era right now where it's turning into a little bit of positionless basketball, right?
Yeah.
You got Luca and stuff who could play five if he wanted. You
Mm,
got or could play four, where whatever. Like these guys are big. LeBron's out there, almost 7 feet. We're KD, all these guys, and just even women basketball too. It's starting to become a long, lanky game, and you gotta have a bag essentially, right?
yeah.
Would you agree? And would you think, would you say that complements your game, kind of that positionless basketball allows you to do and show a lot more of your assets?
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that has, especially this year, really saved my game in a way. Because I make a lot of crazy shots. Um, but they're not shots that I've never attempted before.
Gotcha.
And um this year, I'm scouted much more heavily. I've been getting doubled and triple teamed every game, and to still be able to average 16 points, hitting 2 to 4 threes a game. I know for sure I was top three in 3-point field goal percentage. So I think that really, really helped me for this year because now I can open it up for my teammates.
Mhm.
They can go down low, do what they need to do, and then we can just go right back and switch back, and I can go down low. They can cut off me, and I think we've been really well with learning each other and doing that. And plus, we lost Andra, who was our 3-point assassin last year, and I think that opened it up a lot for me in the post because they had to guard her on the 3-point. So I had to understand, even if it's not necessarily for me on the block this year, become a knockdown shooter and then you'll get the same results.
Gotcha. So you just adapting your game through all.
Hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. I want you to touch on something for me. In your pretty lengthy career, you've played with immense talent. You played against immense talent. Who would you say is one of the most overlooked players that you've ever played with?
That's like such a hard question because I can't name one person
Okay.
because it's just like this is why we need the league to expand so bad. There's so many talented players that you're like, how is she not on a team?
Yeah.
And it even crosses my mind as my days are coming to an end with college basketball. With I know how talented I am, um, and just because there's only so many spots on this team and there's only so many teams, Like, it doesn't mean I never want to get to a point where I feel like, oh, I just suck at basketball now. I'm not able to be a pro because of that situation. And I think that happens to a lot of women's basketball players, because you try to shoot for that opportunity, and just because there aren't enough spots, you get shut down. So there are a lot for
Wow.
sure.
Okay. That's I mean, I feel the same way. I just feel that way about the sport. I do
Hmm.
think the sport has evolved over the last probably like 5, 6 years, and it's going to continue evolving with
Hmm.
your class coming in right now, and girls behind you, and just the talent level. I think it's advancing dramatically.
Right.
Um, so hopefully, hopefully in a few years that
Yeah.
does change and stuff like that, and they expand.
Right.
I want to know what was your welcome to college moment for you? Who's the person in your career who, like, you might have gave a bucket till you held your own, but for whatever reason, it was just like, damn, I can't. It's something about him. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know what I mean? Who is it? What was that moment for you
Oh,
in college?
I'm gonna just say from the beginning, like, there's nothing in high school that you can do to get physically and mentally prepared for college. Like, I don't care what no one says.
Sure.
There's nothing you can do. It is a different pace, no matter what conference.
Yeah.
It's a totally different pace.
Hmm.
The strength, that's gonna take a minute to,
Hmm.
get right. And then just mentally understanding that, like, to not take things personal. Now, I'm kind of naturally like that. But when I first came into college, I was a stick. At Michigan State, they called me stick.
Okay.
And although I was still good and skilled, and I pretty much had a successful freshman, sophomore year there, oh, there was nothing I could do at home that was gonna bring me even a Christmas break. You go home for those 3 days, you're on a treadmill thinking you're doing something, you come back, it's something about a college court that's like, nah, you can't get ready for this. I think anybody that is about to transition into there, and I like how they have the early, like, high school can enroll early now.
Hmm.
I would have loved to do that.
To adjust and
Yes, just so you can really get adjusted to that, find that certain win, because there's not a trainer in this world that can get you ready for that college floor.
no, it's a different. I can only imagine, man. It's a different level. It's a different speed. The coaching, like
Yeah.
everything you knew, IQ wise, it's all different. So
Yeah, drills that you've probably done your whole life, but they just call it a different thing. And now you're so tired and you don't know what's happening. You don't even know how to do a layup. Like,
yeah.
the most simple stuff.
No, I get it, man. I get it. A few minutes ago, you mentioned, you're from Wisconsin, right? And
Mm.
it's crazy because it's not a bad look. I'm just being real. It's not a basketball state. When you think of Indiana, you think of New Jersey,
Uh,
Cali, Florida, down south, Texas and
mhm.
stuff. Like you don't think of Wisconsin for basketball,
Right.
right? With that being said, where are you originally from in Wisconsin for people at home that may not know?
I'm from Kenosha. Kenosha, it's about 30 minutes from Milwaukee, and I'm about 12 minutes from the Illinois border. So it takes about 45 minutes for me to get in Chicago.
Oh wow. Okay, so Midwest. You're like in the smack middle of Midwest.
Right. Hmm.
Nice, nice. What has that adjustment been like? I mean, you've been in some pretty decent cities. I mean, you've been Detroit, Michigan.
Hmm.
That's got a little city vibe. I know it's got to be different. It's still Midwest. That's still,
Yeah.
but I know you're over here in Jersey. I know,
Hmm.
Wisconsin, Jersey. You're kind of in that city life a little bit now.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So, I mean, where I'm located in Wisconsin, I would say it's still city like. Like, it's not like I live on a barn. I have to tell people that all the time. Like, it's not that country where I'm from. But I will say hopping from school to school, that was the biggest adjustment, because I went from Mississippi, that is just the college, which is a gorgeous college town, but the city of Starkville is Mississippi State. And outside of that, then you find horses and all that fun country stuff.
Yeah.
So going from that, which I honestly love that lifestyle. My dad is from Mississippi, so to me it was like home. I had family there. It was fun. Then I never did an official visit for Seton Hall. I just kind of Andre recruited me, really talked to Coach B. I was like, yep, let's do it. When I arrived at LaGuardia Airport and drove through Newark, I was texting my mom like, oh no, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is different right here. Like the buildings are so close together. There's a mini mart on every little block. Like people are everywhere. I have to wait in a line everywhere. Like that was a big adjustment. And then I'm like going into my studio apartment. I'm like, this is it, and I'm paying this much. Like, okay, that yeah, Jersey for sure has won when it comes to the surprises because I was not ready for this.
Hey man, look. This is just it's a cousin of New York, so it's just a taste. This is just a taste. If you go to
Yeah.
New York, you know what I mean. It's not night and day, night and day. Um, so I want to touch on a little bit. We're gonna hop in your background a little bit now for people at home who don't really know too much about you. You just said you were from, where you were from in
Mhm.
Wisconsin. I wanted to ask you, what do you how did you get involved in sports? Because everyone's got a unique story and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Older brothers, blah blah blah. How did you begin getting involved in sports?
Exactly that. I'm the youngest of two older brothers, and the middle child, he is 6'7". My dad played a little bit too, just like for fun.
Yeah.
And I remember being really young and going to like his little rec league games. Then my brother started up playing, and they said I would be at his games screaming. Like I really knew what was happening. I'm yelling at the refs. I'm on the court, whatever
Okay.
had to get done. I was gonna ride for my brother.
Okay.
So my mom was like, "You want to do all this yelling? We're gonna put you in the sport."
Okay.
So I got into basketball, and I was already bigger than everybody else. And then in like third grade, I hit my growth spurt, so I was really bigger than everybody else. And then my dad would just like take me and my brother to the parks, the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, get up shots. He always did like a scoop shot. That was my dad's thing, and he's a righty but would shoot left. So he would just teach us little unorthodox things to do because, like I said, my brother is huge himself, and then they could see I was sprouting up. So he's like, "Yeah, let's just try different things." So I think that helped with the confidence part as well to try different things at this height because I could watch my brother do it, and he ended up playing college basketball for Evangel,
Mhm.
um, and kind of just played 2, 3 years and was like, you know what? I'm gonna let you take over with the basketball stuff because it's much harder on the men's side. And I was like, all right, I got it. So now he watches every game. I get a text before and after every game. He's critiquing everything, any move, brand new move that I brought out that is so good. He's taught it to me. It's more than relationship. I'll give credit to my brother for sure for getting me started.
That's dope. That's dope, man. That's really cool to find inspiration for someone really close to you like that. It's always cool hearing stories like that because people pull from everything and anything in their life. So that's really unique and super dope. I want to get into a little bit. When you're young, like it doesn't hit how it does like when you're older before you like really fall in love with the sport and love the nuances of it. So I wanna get into, what was the first thing about the sport that almost made you reconsider it? When you were younger.
Um, Honestly, I don't think I've ever had a moment where I didn't want to play basketball.
Oh wow.
I am just such a busybody that although I was always doing something like a basketball, I knew was just going to be some sport, let me say that, was going to be in my life.
Gotcha.
Have there been times where I've been frustrated, confused, don't know what to do? Yeah. But I think my support system is so strong that I've never had that failing moment.
Got it.
It's only been like, can't get worse, so just make it better. And I have, you know, very Christian based household, so they are, you know, huge on me with my faith. I think if anything, my lowest point was probably the first time I had to transfer because I just didn't know what to do. I felt like it was still fairly new. I
Yeah.
knew I have to sit out. So, you know, just the thought of what might happen. But even throughout that, just constantly talking to my mom. My mom's like my manager. Like she's a life coach. She is letting me know, like, hey, this is what you want to do. You sleep on it, you pray on it. We're doing whatever you want to do. And I think that's why it's given me the willpower to know, like, basketball was definitely made for me. It was a God given talent, and that's why I'm gonna play it as long as I can.
Absolutely. What part of the game would you say came the most natural to you, and what part did you have to mostly develop?
Um, I want to say my mind was the most natural in basketball. I like to see things play out. I like to be a smart player. And it's weird for me to say it because if you watch, I do a lot of really weird stuff on the court, but it's like I could have my back to the basket, but I know that shot is going in the minute I turn around and shoot it, just because in my head I've seen the angle, I know the touch that I need for that shot to go in.
Yeah.
Um, I think my biggest adjustment has definitely had to be just the athleticism. um,
Yeah.
I went from a stick to thicker to knee problems to Achilles issues to just natural old lady issues now. Um, so each year I'm like, all right, you're losing it, just hop a little bit. You got to elevate somewhere else. So like I said, my knees been a little messed up. I'm like, all right, just get strong. Just have a crazy upper body, have a crazy lower body. Then you ain't got to worry about jumping really. You can just bully your way to the basket. So I think that has been my biggest adjustment.
Developing. Okay, that's kind of. I mean, hey, listen, you got a decorated career. You got a
Yeah.
decorated career, so it's gotten you this far.
Hmm.
Speaking of decorations, in 2017 you were awarded the McDonald's All American game.
Hmm.
This is back in high school. That's pretty much like the awards of awards in high school.
Uh-huh.
So super congratulations to you.
Thank you.
However, these past two consecutive years, you've made, first team All Big East,
Hmm.
which is that's a tough feat. You know what I mean? You're in there with Seagrees and you're in there with a
Yeah.
lot of bigs, and it's just really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want you to go back in time, just kind of remembering both awards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I want to ask you which award impacted you more, do you think?
I'm gonna say McDonald's All American because that was my final year and I had went, not that rankings even matter because the more I look at it now, I'm like, that was so crazy to even be into that stuff, especially being from Wisconsin. There's not, it's not like there's no talent. It's just a lot of hidden talent. But a talent level where I believe myself and where like Enrique were at is very rare there. So I felt like a lot of like I'm one of those undercover really good athletes. I'm not like the McDonald's All American that has 10,000 followers and the blue mark on Instagram. It's just like, hi, yeah, that was me in my past. Um, and I remember I was number two in the country for the longest. It was Megan Walker and it was me.
Aaron Walker, yeah.
Then I broke my nose like the second tournament, the EYBL thing. I broke my nose. I had an ankle the size of a softball. It was really, really rough. And I had dropped down to number 16, like, ooh, still top 20, but still, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I've dropped. There were a lot of schools, the UConns, Notre Dame, that were recruiting me, and I felt like when I got hurt and didn't produce the numbers, I'm still playing in 3 pairs of socks and an ace wrap and a face mask. So I'm trying to play, but I felt like those schools kind of backed off. And that was kind of my moment, like, okay, I'm gonna make you guys see like I'm worth being in that top 5. So that final year EYBL, I snapped. I snapped. Then I finally got the McDonald's All American Award, USA team, Jordan brand, and I was like, oh yeah. And then they started trying to call and come back. And I was like, I love your school. I appreciate you. But at that moment, I felt like if you aren't really with me when I'm down, then how can I trust that process if I get to college and was to get hurt? So it was just kind of one of those moments like, wow, I proved these people wrong. These people that probably didn't want me anymore over a little injury, something I couldn't control, they get to see what I'm capable of now.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you don't mind me asking, because you were when you went to McDonald's All American, you're
Mhm.
top 100 in the nation, top 10 in the nation,
Mhm.
in the UConns, getting all these schools. What were if you remember, what were some of those lists on the school? I mean, what were some of the list of the schools that wanted you, and what ultimately drew you to commit into Michigan State?
Oh my. It probably wasn't a school that didn't reach out. Besides, I don't even know if a lot of Big East schools reached out to me really. I know my top 5, you regardless, it looked like I was going to the Big Ten. My top 5 was Purdue, a loyalty thing. You guys offered me when I was a baby. Purdue, Wisconsin, you're home. Keep
Um,
you on there. UCLA was my odd one.
Cali?
I loved it. When I went on my official visit, I loved it. But I thought about 18-year-old Sidney Cooks in California, and I was like, oh no, I can't do this. Because as you can tell, I'm a bubbly person. I like to have fun. I was like, no, no, let's have some self control. Let's not go to Cali and wild out. It's okay. You'll get there one day. Then I had Michigan State and I had Michigan. Am I missing one?
Yeah, Rutgers. You're missing Rutgers. That's
Oh
right.
no. Rutgers, I don't even know when Rutgers recruited me. I do remember being on the phone with the coach at some point, but I don't think it got too far.
I heard a
But
lot
yeah,
of schools. I heard a lot of schools. I mean, except
so
Rutgers.
a lot of Big Ten schools. But like I said, growing up, they're around the corner. So,
Mhm.
I'm comfortable with these coaches. I've known them since I've been 12, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
It was a big loyalty thing for me, definitely coming out of high school. I was the only McDonald's All American out of my class to commit to a Big Ten school. And
Yep.
I got a lot of crap about
Yeah, because I think back then, like, if you're somebody, I think
it.
the general consensus always jumped to the SEC. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Yeah, so I can see the backlash, but I mean, as you can see, that Big Ten now and stuff like that is
Yeah,
really
elevated.
I mean, all the conferences. It's unreal.
Hmm.
It's actually unreal. You guys need to slow down a little bit because trying to cover all you guys, it's like, oh, she dropped 50. Oh, she did this. Oh, she did that. It's like,
And it's crazy because I think my class, that 2017 class, really started off the transfer portal was insane with my class.
yep.
It almost had me scared to transfer because I'm like, okay, well, they doing it too. Like, should I do this? I probably 3 or 4 out of the top 20 players in my class actually stayed at their school.
Okay.
Everybody else is either went somewhere else or they just don't play anymore or who knows what. So
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, well, so it actually brings up a good point, right? So, a lot of people they only know the glitz and glamour of whatever profession you do, right? Like, no one,
mhm,
very rarely do people talk about the cons or like, the deep dark secrets and
mhm,
stuff of what they do. If you don't mind, talking a little bit about the negative side of recruiting
mhm.
aspect, and just kind of just like any of the negatives, I guess, about the game of basketball that you don't really endorse, but you
Mhm.
have to deal with if you're going to be involved. You know what I
Right.
mean? What are some of the ugly things about the game?
I think overall, um, I wouldn't even say it's necessarily ugly, but the older you get, my mindset has changed to understand that this is a business. And as much as we want to win and we want to be successful, um, the coaches need us to be successful as well. So there have been plenty of times where I felt I should be starting. I didn't start. I should feel I should be playing this position. I should be getting these minutes, but I don't. And selfishly, any player's gonna think, okay, well, we lost, so what's the next adjustment, you know? Um, but then the bigger picture, you start winning, you start seeing a certain flow. It's like, okay, now I kind of see the business aspect of it. So like I told you earlier, I don't really take things personal. I kind of just like note it and be like, all right, so I'll change this about myself so that I can outwork whoever this is to get to where I need to go.
Gotcha.
And since I realized like leaving Michigan State, the business part of it made it easier to make the another decision leaving Mississippi State because the same way I want to be successful in my career, I wouldn't have gotten, these Big East honors
Yeah.
probably if I stayed at Mississippi State and settled to just play a three position.
Yeah.
The same way that Vic Schaefer, who I love, was probably I love Coach B, but I think he was by far one of the best coaches I've ever had in my life because he was such a winner. So I couldn't even take it personal when he went to Texas. It's a
Yeah.
business move.
Yeah.
You're from Texas. You're
Yeah.
getting more money. You know what I mean? And it's not like your work isn't speaking for itself. You went there and took them to the Elite Eight. Like you're telling me that I did make the right decision to play for you. Even though I sat out that year, I'm like, oh, I'll always be able to learn from him. So I think if players can look at it in that way rather than taking things personal and looking at like the bad things of it and just kind of maneuver it in a way that works for them, it's made my mental much easier, much healthier.
I was gonna say it sounds like you're in a very good space, and like it's
Yeah,
unfortunately that's not common, especially
right.
jumping from places and talking to athletes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As much as you transferred and switch situation, there's a lot of things that plays a toll. Like people don't understand a lot
Mm-hmm.
how that could play a toll. Like your family's in Wisconsin, you just said
Right.
that's your flight, so that means like certain holidays. Guess who's staying in Jersey?
Uh-huh.
And it's little things like that where like you got to take all that stuff into consideration,
Mm-hmm.
your mental health, emotional health, and with that being said, how did transfer and play a toll on you? I mean, I just gave an example, but
Mm-hmm.
so much more. How did that affect your confidence? How did that
Mm-hmm.
affect you emotionally? And most importantly, how were you able to keep your composure mentally throughout
Right.
the entire process to still perform at a high level?
So leaving, like I said, leaving Michigan State was kind of the more nerve-wracking transfer that I had just because it was new. Um, I didn't try to get a waiver or anything. I wanted to sit out. I wanted to learn. I wanted to, in a way, scout my teammates so I knew exactly what to do when it was my chance,
Yep,
get in the best shape.
yep,
Scout team, you get a water break here and there. Like, Scout team was fun for me. Getting to be different players is fun for me. And I think um, at Mississippi State, I had such a set schedule that I couldn't really dwell on like, oh, I'm not really playing right now because you have study hall. Go, get your work done. Um, so I don't know. I feel like my transition was much easier than I expected. Then Mississippi State to Seton Hall, I kind of already had a family here in a way because I was with Andra. Me and Andra lived together for 2 years at Mississippi State. She comes here, we FaceTime every day. So she's like, "What? My best friend's coming here." So I come here. I'm like, I went to reunion. So it was just like I just came here to be with my sisters. Honestly, it wasn't. And I think that is kind of messed up sometimes in transferring because you have to relearn people and all that. I mean, I was texting LP. I think the day after I committed. They're really sweet. They're like, "Oh, girl, when you get here, we're gonna have a party." Like they're really, really on it. So they made me comfortable coming here, and it was my last 2 years. I'm like, I ain't got nothing to lose. Let me go out here and ball out. So, a lot of them honestly didn't even know what I was capable of. Even Andra, being my best friend, was not capable. She didn't know because she's only seen me on the scout team,
Yep.
and then playing the three that last year. She didn't know, like, oh, okay, so he could do a little everything. So I think I shocked them a little bit, and then it took a while for us to figure out how to play with one another because of that. But then obviously when we got it all together, it worked out.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's really interesting, man. The chemistry and I mean, I guess it played in your favor, man. Kind of coming in as the mystery. It's
I've
nothing
been
better. Yeah,
lucky for sure.
yeah. No, I mean, everyone I think who finds success needs a little bit of luck.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? In your career, you've definitely found success, and you've kind of persevered through a lot. I don't think you give yourself enough credit. There's a lot of things and stuff that could have easily went left,
Right.
easily. And you were able to keep your head and keep your confidence at a high level. So super dope. And shout out to your support system. Shout out
Mhm.
to I did want to ask, what were some of your favorite experiences or like unique experiences as a pirate? Because it does feel a little different. I mean, like I hear you talk about the Michigan State. I hear you
Uh-huh.
talk about this, but it sounds like you're home, man. It sounds like you
Oh
really
yeah.
love your group, and like I've seen again covering you guys all year.
Hmm.
Even when you lose, it's different. Like even when you lose, it's different. I can see you guys
Yeah.
like really together. It's a family unit. And
Hmm.
when you guys win, it's a party. Like it just looks like you guys are having fun on the court.
That's the thing.
Uh, yeah, it's
No,
no,
one thing about being a pirate, like we're always trying to find the good in something.
yeah,
Um, our most recent game, it was almost like deja vu because we played Creighton the exact same way last year in the tournament, but we won on the buzzer beater. So the fact that they win this year on the buzzer beater, we're
yeah,
like someone's always cracking a joke, whether it's the players or the coaches. We really just find light in dark situations.
yeah,
And we're very together. Now, every program's gonna have your days when it's like, man, we ain't messing with the staff today. It's just about us. Forget them. Um, and I think when you can have that bond, not to be disrespectful to the staff, but when the players can really lock in and be like, all right, y'all, we the ones who are playing. Like, let's fix it. Let's figure it out.
yeah,
There's a certain maturity. And this team is full of upperclassmen. We have one freshie,
yeah.
um, I think like two sophomores, and everybody else is seniors, just using their COVID year. Um, so I think that's helped a lot of the losses that we've had this year because we want to learn. We're in the gym the next day shooting, doing film, laughing, making sure, whoever might have made a mistake in that game, we're making sure they're not thinking about it the next day.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's just a family base here. Like I said, I can bring my dog in the gym any day. He's like, okay, assistant coaches, y'all run practice. I'm gonna watch the dog. Like he's so funny. He's so funny. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better last 2 years.
That's amazing, man. And it's clear as day. Like you hear it in your voice, man, how genuine it is. So it's really refreshing to hear. And I'm very happy for you finding your Cinderella story and finding, your nice exit. That's really cool, man. You know, some may know. I want to talk about kind of your professional career because you're kind of at that stage where you're kind of a tweener right now. I know you're still, your future's still bright. You're still
Hmm.
looking to do the combine, do things of that nature to make
Right.
WNBA team. However, some may not know, you know what I mean? Like you work hard off the court as well. You're a poli sci major and it's tough. It's tough managing
Mm-hmm.
a loaded major like that. It's not like you're doing a light
Mm-hmm.
major and then having a full time. You are a
Right.
legitimate full time athlete while taking on a full load
Hmm.
in poli sci. So like I wanted to ask you, how have you found ways for people at home who may be going through something like that? How have you found ways to manage yourself and still stay high in your GPA and things of that nature?
Right.
How have you been able to balance it?
I think a schedule has been my best friend.
Okay.
Um, at Michigan State, I had mandatory study hall hours. Mississippi State, they were mandatory, but it was like I said, it was a schedule, so you knew not to even mess around with your study hall hours. And then here, coming here at 22 years old, I'm like, I better not have a study hall. I know how to do this stuff now. But our academic advisor, he's really good. Like he will still send a schedule out. He sends an email like every week. Hey, just if you need a tutor, any subject, just let me know. I'll get it to you. Um, and I think asking for help when you really need help, your professors understand. And that is a thing for me because I have so much pride. Like, I'm gonna get it done. I don't need help. I'm gonna get it.
Mhm, mhm.
And no, I know this first semester, I swear we traveled more than I have my whole college career. It felt like I was on the road every week. And mind you, I only have 3 classes. It's grad school. Two of
Yeah,
them are online, one in person, meets once a week.
so you're chilling. You're chilling.
6 to 7:30, but I'm missing this Thursday class because I'm on the road traveling for a Friday game.
Yep.
And I went up to him and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm confused. I have no idea what's happening because it's in person and you're talking about it and you're not putting it online. So I don't know what to do. And the first thing that came out of his mouth was like, "Oh, I played baseball in college. I was just waiting for you to come approach me and let me know that it was too much." And I was like, okay, wasn't expecting that. But every school I've been at, I feel like I've had um very good professors that understand because there are some professors that will give you a hard time if this is just a certain class at a certain time and you're missing all the time. They'll tell you to drop the class. And I've been fortunate enough where they're like, you're good. Just keep me updated with your schedule and I'll keep you updated with the material. We'll work together. We'll get it done.
That's dope. I mean, that's very unique.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, going to Rutgers, I didn't have too much of that. If I missed class,
Yeah.
and if the athletes missed class, it was kind of on them to figure it out. So
Yes. Yeah.
that's that's really cool, though. That's really cool.
Mhm.
They were able to manage and work with you. So it sounds like, is it safe to say you have found a healthy balance between, following your dreams or slash following, attempting your career as well as your social life?
Oh yeah. I have fun. Now, not I want to say like I'll be outside all the time, but I definitely think probably COVID year. As bad as that sounds, that was the year where I really was like, I'm going to figure out how to have a life
Uh,
because basketball and school are not going to be forever.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
although I can naturally kind of make friends well, every school I've been, I've had friends on the other sports. I've had NARP friends, just people that I just want to hang out with. Um, But I do things like, all right, well, I'm bored. We'll study, but let me study with my friends. And then next thing you know, we're watching a movie. So it's not that my responsibilities kind of go away, but I try to make them fun or get around people so I still have that social part of it still.
Absolutely. For people at home, if you can explain what NART, I hate that. Oh my god, I hate. For people at home, if you could explain what NART means.
What is it? A non-athletic regular person or something like that?
Yeah. Oh my god, man. At Rutgers, I was friends with all the athletes. It sucked, man. I was the one guy who stood out. Everyone's 6'5", 215. They're going to the football stadium. I'm going to the football stadium,
Uh,
but I'm going to cover them, and they're going to play. They're like, oh
but
my.
everyone has their favorite. Like, I swear, every school is like that one that you're like, bro, you just be on the team. Just be on the team. It's all right. The coaches know you. Come on.
No, man, that's great, man. You did kind of just mention a little bit of finding your own way, like in the COVID year, trying to find your own
Mm-hmm.
kind of life outside of basketball and stuff. If you don't mind me asking, what are some of those hobbies that help you kind of stay in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of just alleviate everything when things are going so fast, especially as an athlete? I can only imagine, but like, what I mean, when things are going so fast and they're coming at you, crazy, it's hard to maintain and stay in
Mm-hmm.
the moment. What are some of your hobbies that allow you, to lock in and just really just be within yourself?
Mm-hmm. Um, I think in that COVID moment, really just enjoying my family. I
Okay.
have 4 dogs. Those are my babies. So when I say entertainment, the oldest one is 5. So they're all still in that bad phase. And everyone in my house is above 5'11". So it's a bunch of huge people walking around and 3 Yorkies and a Chihuahua.
You guys are giants in there, man.
So the entertainment is nonstop. And I think I really just cherish that moment of like, I wouldn't have probably seen them until June
Yeah.
if COVID didn't happen. Um, or, there's sometimes I didn't even realize I had been at home in August. Oh, I didn't see my family until Christmas. It's like, how do you just go that many months without, seeing the people you love the most? Um, so besides just really cherishing the moments with them, I take the dogs on walks. I play my piano. Everywhere I've been, I make sure I have a piano. Um, and then I just like to chill and watch movies. I'm a scary movie lover.
Yeah.
So anything scary, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's my latest thing. I've been trying to get more into podcasts. So like when I wake up, I try to find something that's motivational, get me going for my last few weeks as a D1 college athlete.
I'm not sure if you ever tapped in. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people. Well, one of the podcasters I rely on to like give me motivation stuff when I need.
Mm.
I usually tap in with ET, Eric Thomas. Um,
Oh yes, yes, yes. I've heard. Yeah.
Eric Thomas is really
Yes.
good. I mean, he's a hell of a speaker, man.
Hmm.
You got like Tony Robbins and guys like that. I'm not sure if you're like looking for substance or you're looking for like,
Yeah,
you know,
anything just to get me, up and going.
oh man, I get you. Podcast is really interesting, and
Mhm.
especially over that COVID year, it freaking blossomed. So
Right.
there's a lot of stuff out there, and if you listen enough and kind of just
Mhm.
follow your hobbies, just naturally it'll make sense. But
Right.
that's super dope, man. That's super dope. You got a lot of things going on, a lot of things that kind of keep you on your toes. That's really
Yep.
that's
Right.
really cool. Just to kind of conclude, this is a very lengthy interview. I really appreciate
Yeah,
you
it's
for your
fine.
time. And in conclusion, is there any advice you like to leave with anyone who resonates to your story? I mean, you have a pretty decent following, what I mean,
Mhm.
and like people have followed your journey for
Mhm.
extremely long time. And I just want to know, is there any advice to any younger girls and younger boys who may resonate with your story?
Um, I would say like your story is your story. I've always been told since I was tiny, do not be a follower. And I think me always having that in my head to just be a leader, do what my mind tells me, and then stand on it has gotten me really far. Um, Accepting criticism and being able to critique yourself, I think is huge. And it keeps you mentally sane because it's different when you can tell yourself, you messed up here, let's fix it, versus 50 people telling you. You want to already be self aware. And I think as the game is evolving, um, and as more people are paying attention to mental health, like really focusing on that, and just being your best self. I don't have any regrets. I love my journey. I love that I went to these three different schools and was able to build connections with all these people. And there's no doubt in my mind if I ever need to go back to either previous school that I had the connections to do that. Even as far back as high school, my relationships with those schools. And I think knowing how to talk to people is huge. Knowing how to communicate, like I said, it's a business. Life is a business at this point. Wherever you want to go, know how to communicate, know how to, get people to like you, and things will work out in your favor.
Absolutely. Never burning a bridge. It sounds like always networking and
Yeah.
being personable, man. I mean, that's just really good for life. People will like you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It makes a lot of sense, man. So again, I can't thank you enough. Here She Got Game. We're super happy to have you on. We're big supporters, and we'll be following your journey as much as as much as we humanly can. So I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you for your time.
All right. Well, thank you. It's fun.